Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with some Southern and some Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jarrett Roser. Today we are going to do something that it makes me so happy. We're doing the blender. Let's go.
Oh, wow. Full spin. Look at him.
Oh, that was not what I expected. Oh God. Okay, let me.
There's a lot going
no,
on there.
Oh no. Oh, are we gonna keep this in? I don't know if we should.
You're caught in your electronics.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting
What?
really.
What year is this? Where are all these wires coming from? Just got caught in the web of
Welcome to PODnas,
92.
everyone. The show where you never know what's going to happen, but you know it's definitely going to be weird. We're going to do the blender today, and if you haven't seen the blender before, if this is your first time tuning into PODnas, you're just scrolling through the Louisiana versus all y'all channel, and you're like, hey, what is this goofy MFer doing? Blender, we pick 6 topics. We put them in a spinny wheel, and then we choose what we talk about, whatever topic that the wheel chooses. So let's bring this wheel in. Come on, wheel. All right, let's spin this blender. Let's do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. All right. NHL to New Orleans. That's what it says right there. If you can't see it, let's kick this guy out for a little bit and let's talk about it. Jarrett.
It is tough to see, right? It's not. I know my vision. I'm losing a step visually, but the contrast and the wheels and the things, but at the end of the day, we ended up with the topic that I obviously, I wanted to talk about this first.
Right.
So reports from an NHL reporter, Kevin Weeks, this week, I don't remember if it came out on Tuesday or Wednesday, but essentially he had talked to several NHL officials, including Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly, who I know folks at home are probably thinking Bill Daly, the third lead on the hit television show I Dream of Jeannie. It's a different Bill Daly. That Bill Daly, the late great actor, has moved on from us. But Bill Daly of the NHL said, amongst others, that New Orleans is potentially a target for NHL expansion as they start to look, they feel like some growing popularity of the sport in the country, the viability of expanding, adding another team or two, that New Orleans could be in play there.
I think
you go ahead.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think
I don't think about go.
I think that they should do it, and they should name their team the Jazz, because Utah having the Jazz is blasphemous. All right. I guarantee you there's not a lot of great jazz in Utah. Sorry to all the Utah jazz musicians. I don't think you're there. And I think if you were there, you probably moved to New Orleans to do jazz. Okay.
You just crossed the line and pissed off three horn players in Salt Lake City that you're gonna hear from.
Well, if they're devout Mormons, then they're probably gonna forgive me anyway. So I would love this. I don't know how popular it would be.
That's the I'm all about let's do that hockey. Let's give it a ride. I'll probably, if we have a professional NHL franchise at some point, we'll probably, if it's got a cool name, buy a jersey and just try and, put on for the city and the state. At the same time, we're in a place where it's just been a struggle to hold on. I mean, really anything. There were points, obviously, and a lot of this was post Katrina, but talk of, the Saints leaving. But beyond the Saints, I mean, the Pelicans have a down year and everyone is immediately saying, oh, that's fine. Like, let the Pels move on. They can't get the buy-in. Tickets right now are like $1. I think they're paying people on Poitras. Just come into the game and make it look not so terrible on television. And there has while hockey has been a growing sport in the United States, including in this region, there's obviously way more of a built-in familiarity with and base for basketball in Louisiana. Young kids growing up playing basketball, like you and I grew up decades ago playing basketball, and still the Pelicans struggle to get enough of a hold in this market to prove themselves viable. And because there hasn't been that history there, that I mean, the Pels have only been around for a couple of decades. People are very quick to kind of turn their attention, and they'll ride with the Saints through an awful lot of BS on and off the field and still deal with rising ticket prices, even when the Saints are terrible. But for other sports, they just struggle to do that.
Oh, well, listen, I think you go over to Lafayette, you see those ice skaters. They usually fill up the stands. And also, I remember going to Kingfish games down in I guess it's the Raising Cane's River Center now, but the old Centroplex.
And I went to brass games in New Orleans as a kid when we had the brass, but there's obviously different levels to the viability of an NHL team versus some of these minor leagues.
Yeah, I just think it would be cool. I think it would be fun. We should do it. And we should do more stuff that's fun. That's what I think.
Did you do cool first as an ice pun? Was that another Jeez.
I didn't, but I'm so glad I did. Oh my gosh. We're doing great today. Remember when I almost choked myself?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, let's bring back in the blender. Let's see how she's doing. She can't be too happy with us right now. We understand. Okay. So, by the way, let's just go through it. We got NHL and NOLA. I got Nussmeier Saints OC, Trades Green, Harold Perkins, LSU Baseball, Javante Green. We're going to see what happens next. Let's spin this wheel, baby. Oh, it is NHL and NOLA again, but that is right next to Nussmeier Saints OC. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We're just gaming the system for the two things that I really wanted to talk about. But
I know.
The progression of Doug Nussmeier from, Tuesday, I guess, late Tuesday, the reports were that the Saints were working on a deal to bring Doug Nussmeier to New Orleans as part of Kellen Moore's new look coaching staff with the Saints. Now, as of 40 minutes before we started recording this on Thursday, those reports are a little bit more firmed up. Of the Saints are hiring Doug Nussmeier to be the OC under Kellen Moore. For folks that don't know Nussmeier's background, he's a fourth-round pick out of Idaho for the Saints back in '94, played the bulk of his NFL career for the Saints. Obviously, LSU fans will recognize the name from their starting quarterback, Garrett, Doug's oldest son. Also, younger son.
They're related?
Yeah, two Nussmeiers. And let me tell you, three Nussmeiers in terms of just the quarterback position right now with that family, because Colton, the younger brother, is a 2027 target out in Texas. He's a 2027 target for LSU. And so an awful lot of connections, even just when you look at the men of that family and the football connections and that quarterback position specifically for LSU fans to get excited about. And for Saints fans, he's a guy that has been with Kellen Moore going back to 2018 in Dallas, and he has been right alongside. Kellen Moore was with the Chargers 2 years ago, the Eagles for the Super Bowl run this year. And so obviously a great relationship there, a lot of familiarity between the two, a veteran coach that played the position of quarterback in the NFL, and a lot of connections here to the homes. They really kind of made Louisiana their home state through a lot of these moves.
Yeah. So do we think that now Garrett next year, when he goes out, is going to get drafted by the Saints, and it'll be kind of like an NFL Deion Shador situation?
I think for LSU fans, for sure, you start to think about that dynamic pretty quickly.
That was the first thing that my mind went to. So
start to kind of, I don't know if you'd say, wish cast it or dream cast it or whatever. I don't know. I think there's so many variables to that between now and then, obviously, and kind of seeing where the Saints draft, where Garrett's stock is at that point, just how that roster's coming together. And for me, as much as a piece of that conversation is the discontent largely with Derek Carr so far, we'll see how Derek Carr performs under Kellen Moore, who has done a really nice job with a wide range of quarterbacks through the years. And maybe that conversation of the importance of quarterback as a need moving forward looks different by this time next year as well. But it is certainly interesting. It'll be a conversation piece at that point in some capacity, one way or the other, but we shall see.
Listen, I'm going to be the pessimistic fan here on this. The Saints just need a tank for 1 to 2 years and like fully tank. Like this year wasn't even a full. They weren't trying to tank. They were just, they weren't great.
And
it had injuries. Like there were so many injuries that happened this year that kind of really the Saints and the Pelican season have very much mirrored each other, where there were a little bit of expectations up top, especially after a really good start for the Saints, and then everything cratered due to injuries. Felt like that with the Saints too. Everything started to crater. Everyone started getting injured, from Olave to Carr to half of the secondary to, running backs that weren't there for the first half of the season, maybe because Dennis Allen just didn't like someone and put him on IR. But, I don't know what are you looking for from this New Orleans team to do this year? I would rather maybe tank, get another year of better or front end round draft picks. Maybe try and offload some of this veteran talent and get that cap situation in a better space, and then try and build something from that. And you hired Kellen Moore. I mean, we know that Saints fans are going to show up to the Superdome regardless of the product on the field. We just saw that, from what they did this season. And I bet the Superdome was still being packed every single Sunday.
And when we're looking at the potential of how bad the Saints could be and how much of a multi-year process of a rebuild it could be, all that's up in the air to me. I'm not going to say that they don't bring in a new coaching staff and see a nice step forward. But on the flip side of that, if it looks like, okay, we've got an awful lot to fix and it's going to take us some time, diving right into an early round quarterback is not the way that I would go if I'm building this thing back from the ground up. I'm trying to get more of those other pieces in place before then taking my shot on a quarterback a year or two down the line. And I don't know, that's easy to say in kind of a general sense when you start looking at the draft board and seeing here's the most talented player versus here's this position or that position. You've got to kind of take the best guys that you have the most faith in. But I kind of lean more in toward that camp if you are in a pretty full rebuild, rather than going to get the quarterback before you have any sort of decent stability around him. I would be a little bit more patient with that anyway.
I feel like you can't put a quarterback in that dire of a situation and expect them to grow and flourish, but that's a whole different conversation for a different day. Welcome, Doug Nussmeier, to the Saints. Welcome back to the Saints, actually. Yeah,
I'm excited from a standpoint of just, the family all getting a chance to be that much closer together after Doug was out in LA a year ago, Philly this year, gets to come on back home essentially. Certainly home base for the family, be an hour away from Garrett. That was kind of the lead to my story a couple of days ago when this was starting to come into focus. Was going to be an awful lot easier now for Garrett to go see his dad's NFL teams games and for Doug to go see his son's college games, and for Doug to, even make that trip out to Marcus, Texas and go see Colton play his high school games. And so that'll just be really cool for the family, which has always been an awesome family to see when we run into them out here.
Hey, very nice. Let's do one more blender. We got time for one more. Let's go. We're going to go ahead and spin this wheel. Oh, okay. So we got some Harold Perkins news. Hope he's healing from this injury. Okay. Hope that's going well. But Jarrett, what are we looking at with this news coming out about Harold Perkins and his kind of role moving into next season with the LSU Tigers?
Yeah, I honestly didn't realize this hadn't been, I guess confirmed. It was kind of out there for a while, even with the decision that Harold Perkins would be coming back for another season in Baton Rouge, that the plan was going to be to utilize him in a star role, which is kind of a hybrid linebacker DB role that has a mix of responsibilities to it. And you can kind of do some different things with it than some of those, I guess, what people envision more traditionally as one box or the other. But with our Bengal Tiger staff over at On3, Julie Bodwan had a chance to chat with Blake Baker, the DC, a few days ago, and reported out there that was in fact the role that was envisioned for Perk as he comes back this year. And so now we'll kind of see, again, first off, hopefully everything's going well as he recovers from that injury is first and foremost. But then as he gets back into it and plays more full time in that role, just how he adjusts to it and some of the responsibilities that are there with coverage and those things. But I think there's an opportunity there for it to become a really nice fit for him. I mean, you're playing around the line of scrimmage, and I think he's probably better at coverage than he gets credit for sometimes. We've seen him drop back and make some plays there, but also a lot of opportunity to create some havoc off the edge, depending on what opposing offenses are giving you and, what the game calls for.
I'm getting kind of excited if Harold Perkins can come back and look anywhere near to the amazing player that he was before. I mean, coming back from an injury is tough no matter what, but just the thought of a healthy Harold Perkins and Weeks on that defense, all of a sudden that thing that LSU fans have been so worried about the last couple seasons finally seems like it's starting to get shored up, at least for this upcoming season, which is great to hear. I don't think either one of us are gonna be mad at progress on the defense, because that is, I think, all that I know personally that I've been yearning for out of the LSU team since the national championship year.
We've probably talked about it on here. I know I've talked about it with a lot of folks, I mean, in different capacities, but when you think back to a decade ago or however long ago, and you're telling your past self, hey, so LSU is going to have a couple of Heisman quarterbacks coming through there, but we're really going to be trying to figure out these D-line and DB situations. There's no way we would have believed that years ago.
Ever.
And the frustration back then of, man, if we could just get a dang quarterback situation to work out, it's very interesting contrast to where they are now. But I thought they took a nice step forward this year in Blake Baker's first year back, in terms of just creating some more stress for opposing offenses and dictating a few more things in some spots. You saw the emergence of Whit Weeks, obviously, which was huge this past season. And, hopefully same sort of thing we said about Perk. Hopefully things are going well with Whit working back from his injury. He's now a guy that's viewed among the top linebackers in the country. And I think his emergence really helps you have that flexibility to do some more things with Perk and move him to some different positions. And those two guys have the opportunity to be, two of the best defenders in the SEC, certainly, and be talked about on a national level. And I think watching that step forward we saw as a unit from this past season, when watching some of the young talent they're adding in, as well as some of the plug and play pieces for this year through the transfer portal, there's a lot to be intrigued about, excited about, encouraged about in terms of just taking steps back toward more of what we knew years ago. And I think now also the offensive situation is kind of off and humming in a way where you're not worried about going back to the negative side of things on the offensive side of the ball once you get that defense right too.
Hey, we're winning a ship this year. I'm calling it. Way to go. Let's do it. Okay. There we go.
All right. It's February 20th and you're calling the LSU championship.
I am. I hope I'm right. That would be real cool.
Put your money in now while the odds are probably the best,
by the time we get to into July, whatever money is in the curse jar, I will put towards LSU winning a national championship. Or should I split it? Should I do winning the SEC and winning a national championship?
I would have just taken issue there with you unilaterally deciding where to go with the curse jar money.
No, I'm saying I am going to match what is in the curse jar of my personal money.
Well, most of the curse jar is your personal money anyway. So that's what I was gonna say. Is I guess it makes sense. You're 96% of the curse jar.
Then I will take out your 4%. Fine. If you don't want to win as much money because your 4% won't be in there. And Jared, 4% of like $100 is 4. So
good job. Good job. I was worried you were gonna botch that one.
Yeah, I think the asphyxiation earlier like really helped clear my head up a little bit. So oh man, that is all that we have for you today. We had a lot of fun on the blender. I blended myself. There's a lot of stuff that happened today. There's stuff you're not going to see. There was a pause, right? A sneeze attack. Everything is just everything was on the table. Yeah. Jared, do you have anything else before we get out of here for the people?
No, that's about it, man. Glad we're kind of getting back on our routine. So, folks, make sure you're checking in every couple of days, both on the YouTube channel for full episodes, as well as the Instagram account where Daniel's got kind of a mix of things, some of the key moments, both, take wise and funny wise. And just, we're excited to ramp up for 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can go and find Louisiana versus all y'all, like he said, on the YouTube channel, also on Twitter at LA versus all y'all. And you can find us, PODnas, on Instagram, PODnas_LA. Go check us out. Hey, thanks. Shout out to Brad Kemp for the theme music today. We really appreciate it. PODnas out.